Hi everyone, this is Kellyanne. I am your presenter today for the webinar, which we're going to look at how to create a children's directory. Let me go ahead and get rid of the slideshow we have going, the PowerPoint. And I'll go ahead and open up Church Windows. I already have membership open, so I'll click on that to open it up. Before we begin, just a few things. This webinar probably will go till about 2:30. Might be a little longer than our regular 20 minutes, just because it's a little more involved. If it's your first time using GoToWebinar, on your toolbar, there's a little arrow to the right, to the left of it. I guess it probably depends on which side of the screen you put it on, but there's a little red arrow that if you click that, it will minimize your toolbar down so it's not blocking what I'm showing you on the screen. And then to open it back up, just click that arrow. I won't be unmuting people because there is a question panel within the GoToWebinar toolbar, and you can type questions in that toolbar. Rachel should be joining me. She was going to answer questions today. Maybe something came up. If she does not join while I'm presenting, then I'll answer the questions at the end of the webinar. You might want to hold off on questions and see if your question gets answered as I work through the material. But nevertheless, I will, at the end of the webinar, go ahead and open the floor to questions that I will just read out loud and answer for everyone. Just for the interest of everyone's time, please try to keep your questions on topic today because we are looking at the children's directory and the membership module. If you have something specific about your data or your directory, it might be best handled on a phone call rather than just answering through you typing and me answering. But without further ado, one more further ado, actually, I want to show you real quick where the material is coming from. If you own any of our workbooks, the material I'm using today is taken directly from one of our training workbooks. And the workbook it comes from is the Membership 205. It's right about the middle of the screen, which covers all kinds of information about creating directories, custom directories, and just the regular directory. It's pages 10 through 20. Right here, sample reports. It's a directory showing, children's directory showing parents' information. I'm going to show you how to do that. All right. So if you have a book and you want to get that out and follow along, most times when I have books in front of me, I don't always stick right to it. I tend to throw more information out there, but this is kind of long, so I am going to go right with this book. So let's close this. And whoops, I'm going to close all tabs. And I already have membership open. So we're going to make a directory, and the premise here is that the youth director or the Sunday school director wants a directory of the children, but he also wants to include, or she wants to include, the parent's name for each child and a little information for the parent. The best way we can do this is with the custom report designer. First, let's just go into reports and then reports directory export. Now, he said he wants children, and that's all he wants is the children. So first thing we want to do is upper left, where it says select a membership field. We're going to choose directory, and if I start typing directory, notice it's narrowing down to what I typed, so then you don't have to scroll through that long list of fields. So I can choose now directory report order, and I only want people marked child. So I'll click plus selection, and along the side here I could choose members or visitors, or in this case we're going to include both. And then I can click on my sort tab and choose how I want it sorted, and we do want this alphabetic. So we'll go ahead and click next. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on step 1 because what this webinar really is dealing with is step 2, creating this custom directory. Now, if you've used the program a while, you may have noticed under custom, we have all kinds of different formats available. We have a slew of them because we have not just ours, but all kinds that we've made. But under directory, you also have those exact same formats available. The difference, though, is a directory automatically looks for people that you've said yes to include on directory, and it looks for families that have a primary and then could also have a secondary and children as well. And it lists families grouped together. If we go with custom, which is what we're looking at today, you have all the same layouts available. However, each person is treated as a separate listing. So a custom directory will not group the entire family together. But what we want to do today is we want a listing of each child, and then we're going to pull parents' information into that. So for this purpose, we want to choose custom, and then we're going to click new. If you're following along in the book, I have now turned to page 11. All right, so when we click new, the new report setup window comes up, and we're going to go ahead and just type in here, we'll call it our children's directory. Now, when you name things on step 2, I wouldn't name it what you search for in the beginning, because that is completely separate. Step 1 is looking for who you want. Step 2 is formatting the report to tell it, pull this information. So I can use this children's directory if I want what specifically we're about to put in this layout. If I ever want that with a different group, I can search for them on the first tab and then ask for this directory, and it's going to pull the information we're about ready to put on the layout for whoever I search for on the first step. All right, so we can make some other adjustments here if we want to. All we're doing right here is putting in the report name for today, and then we'll say OK. And then momentarily, we should have a blank report designer screen pop up. Might take a minute. So here we go. This is the report designer. It looks overwhelming if it's the first time you've seen it, but it is amazing. You can do so much with this. Once you learn how it works, it's a fabulous tool. You can add so much more than with the old membership directory and custom report area. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a header. If you look at the very top, report header, 1 band per report, basically means what it says. It's going to be a header at the top of the page, and you're only going to get one, meaning it's going to be at the top of the first page. Page header just below that, if you want a header that appears on each page, you would want to use page header rather than report header, because it does 1 band per page, meaning it puts this information at the top of every page versus report headers just on the very first page. We want this to be a report header, and we want to put the organization name. So we're going to click over on organization info field under my data controls, and click and drag and drop that up kind of centered. And that automatically brings up my pick an organization info field window, where I'm just going to click on organization name, because that's all we want up here, and then click OK. Now I can click on this field and drag the edges out. Now notice I'm not going quite to the margins. Some people like to go right up against it. I like to go just a box before that, because if things go out over the margins, that can create an extra blank page in between each page. Now I've chosen organization info. Also up at the top, I'm going to click this little vertically center. Whoops. I don't want it that. I always get them mixed up. I want the horizontal center, the first one, horizontal center. If I click on that after I've clicked the field, it's centering my field, so it's right in the middle. And then up at the just above that, I can click on center to center the actual text within that box. All right, and I also, if I turn to the top of page 12, it tells us how we can also click on this field, and up at the top, I'm going to change the font size. We want it to stand out a little, so I'll make it 14. I also want to go ahead and bold and underline it, so I can click on the B for bold and the U for underline. And now my organization name is going to be at the top of the first page, underlined and bold and centered. Now I want a title that will appear on every page, and just below my report header on the first page, I'm going to put, I want to put a label called Children's Directory. Now that's not something that's available in my fields, that's just text information, and I can add that by clicking over on the right, upper right, on the standard control label. I'm going to click and drag and drop that on the page header because I want this on every page. And I'll open this field up so it's larger. And up at the top here, I'm going to click on center to center my text, and then the horizontal center to make sure I got it lined up in the center of that page header field. Now right now it just says XR membership _ unbound label 1. We want it to say Children's Directory. So if I click this little arrow in the right corner, see that little box? Let me get my spotlight right here. I'm spotlighting that little arrow. That's what I want to click on. Let me get my regular clicking tool back so I can click on it. All right. When I click on that, then in the second field here it says text, that's where I'm going to type what I would like this field to say. So I'll put children's directory, and then I can click anywhere off of that label task field to have it put that text in. Now why it moved it, that was different. So I'm going to spread that back out again. There we go. All right, so now I have children's directory. I want that to be a little larger. So we'll make that font size 12 by just choosing that from the font size. I also want this to be bolded, not underlined, but just bolded, so I can click the B to bold it. Now I'm ready to start adding the actual children's information. So we're going to go ahead and I'm going to flip to page 13 if you're following along in the book. And I'm going to start adding different bits of information for the children. First, I'm going to add their name. I can do that by clicking lower right on under my data controls, click on membership field. And I'm going to drag and drop that in the detail section. Detail section is where you want to put all of your main information that you're adding to your layout. Now, if this were a regular directory with adults and children, then I would put the children's information down in the child section because it reports a little differently. But because I'm creating a custom and the child is the actual individual I'm selecting or asking to be on the report, I'm going to put this in the detail section. All right, now we want to do the child's first name and then last name, so I have that available here in my pick a membership field. So I'll click on name first last and then click OK. And now we see it says name first last for selected individual. Now I want to add their address and phone number, so I'm going to click on membership field and drag it over and drop it right under name. And I can click right up at the top. I see current address block, so I can click on that and click OK. And now we see current address block for selected individual. I'm going to drag another membership field over. And here we want the home phone. So I'm going to click here, and under address phone fields, I can choose home phone. Oops, or where was current phone? Here we'll go with current phone. And that's under current address field. So we'll choose current phone and click OK. And now we have what you see on page 13 in the middle of the page if you're looking in the book. Because the child is who we search for. At the very beginning, I asked for directory report order equal to 3 child. All of this information is going to pull for the child because that's what I asked for. Now, though, we want to pull in the parent's name and some of their information. So we can do that we're going to add the fields. Let me go ahead and look at my layout here. What were we adding? We're going to add the name for the parent. We can do that again by adding membership fields. So we'll click and drag that over. I'm going to indent it in a little just so it stands out a little differently from the child's information. On membership, on the name, I'm going to ask for same thing, first and last, and click OK. But notice it says name first last for selected individual. We want the parent or the adults in the family. So we're going to click on that field, and then we'll click this little box in the corner. And here where it says family member, instead of selected individual, we're going to change that to parent/adults of children. And then we're going to just click anywhere outside of that to close it. And we're going to add a few more things. So I need to make more room in this detail section so I have space. So what you can do is if I just hover on this line that separates the detail section from the beginning of the children's report until I see an up-down arrow, then I can just drag down, make some more room there. And now we're going to add the parent's cell phone and email address. Now, because we want to do that, we want something in front of the actual cell number or the email address identifying what it is and who it belongs to. So we'll have more than one field on a line. When you add more than one field to a line, it's good to put them on a field connector. And what the field connector does is it allows you to put multiple things on a line, and it will put the appropriate spacing in between each of those fields, rather than you having to type a label with a 2 spaces or 1 space or the exact amount you want. So what we'll do is, from the list on the right, grab field connector, and we're going to drag and drop that, and it just creates a shaded area that says add fields. Now from the list on the lower right, I'm going to click on membership field and drag and drop that. And we want to add the cell phone. Actually, I do this opposite way that the book does. So let me, if you're following along the book, let me cancel this. And let's do what the book is showing you. First, we'll add the personalized label. I like to add the actual field first, because on the personalized label, you have to tell it to omit this if there is no field, and it doesn't see that field until you add it. So that's why I like to do it the opposite order. But here we've added our personalized label, and we want to click in the arrow. Now you can add it right on the field connector. This also is my own personal choice. I like to put it in a blank space to work with it and then move it over onto the field connector. Again, that's just my own personal choice. Here we want to, for the personalized label, point that at the parent or adult of children. And then where it says text, we're going to type in email or cell, whatever is going to follow that. So we'll do cell first, and then we'll just click anywhere outside that to close it. And then I'm going to drop it right on the field connector. Now I'm going to do the same thing, add a field connector for our email. And then grab a personalized label. I'm going to shorten it up a little. And we're going to point that personalized label again at parent, adult of children. But this one for text, I'm going to type in email and click anywhere outside to close it. And then I'll drop that right on the field connector. Now we can go ahead and add the actual fields. To do that, we click on membership field and drag it over. And if I scroll to the bottom and open up personal information fields, that's where we'll find cell phone and or email address. So the first one I was adding was cell, so I'll click on cell phone and click OK. And now on the cell phone field, remember, I don't want the child or the selected individual's information. I want, for this, I want the parent or adults of children. So I'll change that and just click outside that. And then drop that over here. And then we'll do the same thing for email. I'm going to click and drag that over, scroll to the bottom, and open up the personal information fields and click on email address, and then click OK. I'm going to shorten that up a little, and notice it's turned a different color. That's because it's going over the margin. It's letting me know that that's not going to work. All right, so we shortened it, and now if I click the little arrow here, I can point this one at the parent or adults of the children and drop that right in front. Now that I've added the fields, I can go back on the personal labels and click the little arrow here, and I want to tell it, if there is no cell phone for the parent or adult of children, do not just put the word Joe's cell phone. And I like I said, I like to add the field and then the label, because the actual personalized label, if there's no cell phone field added to the layout yet, then when you go to say omit cell phone, it's not going to be in the list because there is no cell phone field added to the layout yet. So that's why I like to add the field, then the label, and then go back and change all these who it's pointing at and omitting. All right, so we told that to not put a cell phone or the word Joe's cell phone if Joe doesn't have a cell phone. And then on email, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to say omit the word email and their name if there is no email address for the parent or adults of the child. All right, so we've got all that. Let me go ahead and turn the page. I was not staying in my book there. All right, so that's page 15 and 16 if you're following along. We've gotten all the way to 17. Now, if we want to change a little bit of things, like the first name, or the actual child's name, first and last name. Sometimes you want that bolded so the beginning of each listing stands out a little more. So I can highlight name, first and last for selected individual, and then up at the top click the B to bold that. We also, rather than have just one long column on each page, we've decided we want two columns. So up along the top, the last icon on the right is multi-column setup. I can click that little button and brings up the window where I can increase my columns to 2 and then click OK. Now when I do that, it does tell me I might need to adjust my fields. They might overlap. And notice here, I do have both of these field connectors are running over and into that solid area. So I do want to shorten those so they're not going into where it says space for repeating columns. And let's see. Here we have our finished layout. The only thing that I don't think the book mentions, but I would recommend doing is we can tighten up the spacing here between our report header by just hovering on those lines and closing those up. Also below all of our information in the details section, if I leave all this space here, I'm going to have that a large amount of space in between each listing. So I'm going to close this up a little. I'm going to leave a block or two, and that way I have maybe double space in between each listing. Now let's go ahead and click Save As or Save to save what we did. And then in the upper right, we can close this with the X. And then let's click Print and take a look at what our layout looks like. So now we have a nice report where these names are the children's names, and then below, after it shows the child and their name and address, it shows the actual parents' names. So here we see both the parents' names, and then if they have the same email, it lists both of their names with the email. Although here we see, I'm sorry, Nikki does not have one, so it says none for Nikki, but it shows Evans. But it's a nice little report of the actual children pulling in parents' information along with the child. All right, so that is the end of what I wanted to show you for creating a children's report or directory that includes parents' information. I do not see any questions that came up during what I showed you. It's just now 21 after, so that didn't take as long as we imagined. So we've got time to answer questions. If you have questions, go ahead and type those in the question panel, and I'll just read those out loud so everyone can hear the question and the answer. Not seeing any questions. While I'm waiting to see, just so you can see, like if we look at some of these names, Richard Arnold and Eric Bernard, if I were to go over to members and find Arnold, where's Richard? There we go, Richard Arnold, and click go. Notice Richard is indeed marked with a directory report order of 3. And if we were to go look for Mr. Bernard, and then we see also Jen and William, which we saw on the report. Oh, I see some questions. So let me go ahead and remove this drawing here. Someone said, can you add a field for current age? Sure, I can add that to the layout. You can add any field you like. I was just showing you, what the book showed, but if I click on Edit, that will bring out my layout. Now if I wanted to put that right after their name, I could just click on membership field and drag that over. Go down and find in the personal information fields age and click on that and click OK. And now if I save this and click OK, then click print, it should show. Now that's one where I probably would want to put it on a field connector. That way it would put it right after their name instead of all the way over to the side. So if I were to click edit here, I'll wait for the report designer. I could drag these over, pop my field connector here, shorten that a little, and then if I were to plop name back there and then age, now if I were to save that and take a look, the age probably will not be all the way out to the side. It will just be spaced a little bit to the side of the name. You might want to, put an indicator of what that is, but yes, you can add age. Someone said, how would you add a total of children? I'm not sure what you mean by that. You can't, if you wanted it to add a total of how many are on the page, you can click info up at the top of the report, or if you click on edit, let me see, can't remember if we can add summary information. Oh yes, if we added summary information, let me add that up. Summary is only allowed in the header or report footer, so thought it might tell me one of those. So if I put that in the report footer and click save as, now if I were to print this and then go to the last page, oops, looks like part of it might be at the bottom of one page. Yeah, it's given the summary information. That would give you a count of how many children are on the report. So you could add that. Again, I added that to the footer by adding to the report footer the standard control summary information. That would put the same information that you normally would see on a report that you pull up, where if you just do a regular report, it usually puts the summary of what the report is on the very last page. So yes, you could add that to the directory if you wanted a total of all the children on this report. All right, are there more questions? All right, I don't see any more questions coming in. If you're in the middle of typing one, go ahead and hit enter. That way I won't close the room on you and you can just type the rest of your question. If you do not hit enter and alert me that you're still typing, I don't want to close the room in the middle of anybody typing a question. All right, well, no other questions coming in. So either I was really clear, or you just didn't come up with any questions, or it was so much information you got to think about it. This webinar is recorded, or being recorded, so once it is cleaned up and standardized, we do put these up on our website. Usually that occurs Thursday afternoon, depending on how busy support is. So if you came in late, or if you want to watch this again, it will be up on our website within the next few days. All right, thanks again everyone for attending, and I'm going to go ahead and end today's webinar. Take a look on our website for other webinars, and all the recorded ones are there as well. Again, thanks for attending, and everybody have a great day. Bye.